Drew, big weekend in the SEC West, and let's start with the Ole Miss Rebels, who it sounds like are going to be busy this week. What do they got shaking down there in Oxford?
Well, they got one of our favorite players is going to be on campus for an unofficial visit. Aiden Williams, top 247 wide receiver out of the state of Mississippi. He's going to spend some time in Oxford and just talking with different sources, guys familiar with the recruitment. Ole Miss would love to lock this playmaker up. Cooper, I know you're a huge fan of him. We saw what he did at the Future 50. I go back to 2 years ago when he was at Friday Night Lights, ran a 4.5 on the laser. So Aiden Williams, he's the headliner. Some other guys, though, they're going to be there. We're seeing this guy on the screen right now, Christopher Johnson, one of the fastest prospects in the class of 2023. Former Rutgers commit. His recruitment has really taken off here. He's a speedster, 10.4, like I said, 200-meter dash state champion as well. A lot of people think Miami lead for Christopher Johnson, but I keep an eye on Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, the Rebels, they would love to kind of dial up some different ways to get Christopher Johnson the ball, whether that be as a slot receiver or a running back. And then one final visitor, I don't think this one's been reported yet, Tyree Adams, 4-star offensive lineman out of Louisiana. Talking with those inside his camp, he's kind of doing his final rounds, checking things out. He's going to be at Ole Miss. He's going to be at Florida. He's going to be at LSU. And I think, a decision could potentially come in August as he looks to lock in a spot. So big weekend for Ole Miss. They sit in 64 in the rankings. I think there's a chance they could maybe not move up now, but lay the groundwork to potentially rise up in those rankings sooner rather than later.
All right, Drew, now let's go to another SEC West team. That is Brian Harsin and the Auburn Tigers. They are number 76 right now in the recruiting rankings. And as much as we want to talk about the 2023 class, it sounds like they might have some 2024 arms on campus this upcoming week.
Yeah, interesting situation kind of playing out on the Plains. Auburn doesn't have a 2023 quarterback committed, but I think by the time they start their upcoming season, they could have two 2024 arms in the boat. I think the quarterback most Auburn fans know right now is Aaron Nolan, a 2024 guy, dual threat talent, lefty out of the Atlanta Metro. He's thrown a bunch of snaps. Crystal ball's trending in the right direction there for the Tigers, but there's another quarterback to keep an eye on, Adrian Posse. He's right in my backyard down here at Miami Columbus. Big armed passer. Sounds like, Auburn might be the team to beat there. I was talking with someone familiar with the recruitment. They told me that Adrian actually had Auburn gear when he was growing up as a kid in South Florida. So I think those are two arms to keep an eye on for Auburn as they try to figure this out. And Cooper, I wanted to ask you, man, you've been on the other side of the personnel game. What's it like trying to take two quarterbacks in the same cycle?
I think we've talked about this before, Andrew, but I think everybody in the building has to be singing the same song in terms when it comes down to taking two quarterbacks. So I think communication is key, especially when you're having dialogue with the prospect, their coach, the decision makers, everybody involved in that process. And I think, we've seen that with Alabama before, obviously dating back all the way back to Mac Jones and Tua Tagovailoa, and even in this class with Eli Holstein and Dylan Lonergan. So you look at Auburn's quarterback situation where they are. Zach Calzada, a transfer from Texas A&M, and then you also have T.J. Finley, another transfer from LSU, and then Robbie Ashford from Oregon as well. So that is a transfer-heavy room. I know they like Holden Garner as well, another guy that we had as a 4-star last year at 24/7 Sports, but a guy that played well in the spring game. So it's going to be interesting there. But Drew, I'm going to bounce it back to you on this one. We talked about Auburn, the number 76 ranked recruiting class right now. It's only July, so we'll see where they are in December. They made a late push last year, but perceptionally, Brian Harsin talked a little bit about it last week in Atlanta at SEC Media Days and talked about, hey, I'm still here. What do you think the perception is of Auburn right now with recruits on the recruiting trail?
Well, I think they're definitely getting negatively recruited. I mean, you just kind of work the contacts, work the phones. And you mentioned Auburn with the kid, and they all say, "Well, is Harsin even going to be there?" That's what coaches are using against Auburn right now. But I do think, maybe some good news is on the way. I mean, they've been chipping away. Harsin, from what I've heard, just talking with people inside that program, has kind of taken a step back, and he's letting his coaches actually recruit and evaluate. He's not being super hands-on, and I think that could help produce some commitments this weekend. We just talked about the two quarterbacks, Adrian Posse, Aaron Noland. I think they're both on commit watch heading into the Big Cat weekend. But I think Auburn could also get some other good news as early as potentially Wednesday with a 4-star pass rusher out of the Sunshine State, Wilkie Denaud. I'm hearing he's getting really close to announcing things. Originally was going to wait during the season and take some official visits, but it sounds like his camp wants to make sure he locks in a spot. I think this is an Auburn-Florida State battle. Florida State's the current crystal ball leader, but keep an eye on Auburn here. He's got a really good relationship with Rock Bellantoni, who's his position coach, very tied into South Florida. And I think this would be a nice, big get potentially for the Tigers, who are probably going to have 2 edge defenders drafted in the upcoming NFL draft. So, while there's a black smoke over Auburn, man, they still get some players. And I think Wilkie Denaud is a guy that would fit in excellent there in that Tiger front 7.
Auburn in need of momentum right now. We mentioned the class ranking at number 76, only 4 commitments so far for Brian Harsin and company. But Drew, let's revisit a guy that we talked a little bit about last week, was supposed to make a decision this weekend. That ended up getting pushed back. What's the latest on top 247 linebacker Malik Bryant?
Yeah, man, this recruitment is one we'll probably not forget about. He was set to make his announcement, and then we got some rumors and word that he was going to push things back, and then he ended up actually pushing it back. I thought Miami was in the driver's seat, but Florida has tightened the gap and they've made things interesting. And I think, NIL is playing a little bit of a factor here. And I think, Malik just needed some more time to think things over with his parents. I still like the Hurricanes here. I mentioned last week on the show that his coach was close with Charlie Strong, but Malik himself is very close with Edgerrin James. And there's even some rumors that he might do his announcement ceremony as early as this Wednesday at Edgerrin James's house. And that's coming from Gabby Arrudia at Inside the U. So we'll see. Interesting recruitment. I think both schools need linebackers. Florida needs an inside linebacker. Miami needs an inside linebacker. So Malik is a wanted man, and we'll see how this thing plays out.